Hi everyone, this is Liz with Craft to Devotion, and these are some of the rugs I've been making, and I've been getting a lot of questions from um, groups, upcycle groups that I've been sharing them on, and I want to go ahead and teach you some of the things I've been learning. I am a beginning rug maker, but I do like to teach when I'm learning because that's when I find a lot of the things that will help and benefit you. So here I will begin. Hi everyone, this is Liz with Crafty Devotion, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give tips for rug making, at least the tips I'm learning as I'm going, because this is a rug here that I've made. I have a couple more I'm going to show you, but I wanted to start out by explaining a few things to you. This is going to be just tips and hints for seasoned crocheters, not somebody, I'm not going to do beginners right now, but I'm going to show you some tips I've been learning. And I'm a regular crocheter. I'm going to show you some of the things I'm using, and I'm going to just show you what's happening. So this rug is the one I just finished, and this one is made from, this is a king flannel sheet. This is a jersey stretch fabric that I placed in here, and I'm going to show you a little bit about how I cut them. I'm going to show you different things. Today I'm going to show you mostly some of the equipment I use and how I'm getting to cut it, and then the next video I'll probably actually show you what I'm doing. So I'm just learning, but I'm getting a lot of comments when I'm sharing my rugs on in a group that I belong to that's for upcyclers. And what I'm using mostly are sheets and other fabrics that I have. So this one is, I'm using single crochet here. And then what I had chosen to do for this one is, this is single crochet, all the flannel is, and the gray is actually a half double crochet. And I made that choice for this particular rub because what I'm doing is I'm experimenting with every fabric I use, because my situation is unique, where some of the fabrics I'm using are just what I have in my stash and I'm just combining them. So the sheet was gray and gray and white, and then it has a little bit of burgundy in it, and this is how it came out. My husband loves it. And on mine, I'm tuning the edges where I'm scalloping them. I'm using different technique every time, just figuring out what works best. And these are what are these called? The hooks that I've been using. This is the one I made this rug with, and it's been my favorite size. I don't know exactly what size it is. All I know is that it's smaller than this one. These two right here I purchased from Hobby Lobby, so you can find these two at Hobby Lobby. This large one that goes in here, it only cost, you can see that, $2.79 for this one. And this one is the 25 millimeter, and this one is a 19 millimeter. And they just came in a package like this, the crochet section at Hobby Lobby. And I decided to purchase them anyway, even though because I wanted to try this size better, but I thought this one would work for that really large yarn, because I have a few strands of that I might make something with. But this is what I've been using. So this one has got to be, I would imagine I don't know. I don't even know what size this is, but this is the size I'm using. And this one right here, I did use on one of the rugs, and I'll show you that one too. Let me show you the rugs I've been making. All right, these two are a bit different. These are using a different method that I'm experimenting with. This is gorgeous. I love this method. I feel like sometimes it's a little more time consuming, but this is the first one I made, and I just used a polyester type yarn, acrylic or something yarn. And then I used some old t-shirt fabric. That's what I used here in between, and I crocheted it together. I'm not going to teach you this one first. I'm going to teach you a different method, but I do want to let you know that this is the second one of my. This one I felt like it was too light, and that I needed to make the jersey thicker, not so thin. And this one right here, I experimented with a fabric that is just a pink fabric. I wanted to see if it would work with any fabric and not only jersey. And I just kind of twisted it as I went. And that's how this one came out. I used some vintage yarn in this one. The yarns that I have, I got them on some old spools, and they were a combination of cottons with rayon and bamboo, I think. So it was like a mixed kind of yarn, and I used the yarn here on the edges also. So that's what these are. And I'm going to experiment a bit more with that one. And this is the one here that I used the 19mm size on. And I used two different types of fabrics on here. This is a fabric, this purple it had black in it. And so I had a black sheet. This is it's probably a mixed sheet, probably not all cotton, but I had a black sheet and I mixed it with that. And I did use this 19mm one with this one. Basically, you might want to make sure you use about 2 inches wide when you make your own yarn. I'm going to show you how to make the yarns, but I did want to show you some of the things I've done and experimented with, and that's what I'm doing. It's a gorgeous one. So this is the close-ups. In the beginning, I'm going to try and show you these same rugs, but I'm going to show you the whole photo of them, and then maybe a ruler with the sizes. This one here was one of the first or second ones I made. I've made a couple of others, and I was experimenting with fabrics and yarn, and I even threw this one in the washing machine to see what would happen, because I like experimenting. This is another round one. And I'm experimenting because I want to see what I like, what I don't like. What I learned after I made this one and after I washed it, that what I should have done is first I should have washed this fabric here. This is not a sheet, although it feels a lot like a sheet. And this one was an old sheet, and it had polka dots all over it. So I took off the blue from the polka dots. And it's a beautiful rug. Again, I scalloped the edges on this rug. And I'm going to do more experiments with this one. But for right now, I wanted to test what happens if I actually put it in the washing machine, because I want to know what to tell if I end up making more of these, or I give them away to someone. Then I want to make sure to tell them what they can do with it, how to care for it. Here's another one. This one I made specifically to go in I'm going to put this one in my kitchen. It's very heavy. The fabric I used on this one was more of some type of a stiff polyester, almost like fabric. It didn't have much stretch in it though. So it's a synthetic fabric. The edge here is a cotton. The reason I haven't put this on my floor yet is because I'm really thinking that I want to, instead of having this black edge, I'm thinking I want to make it denim. And I thought that would look really pretty. So I have a whole bag of my son's jeans. I'm thinking of using those. Or I might see if my husband has a few pairs that he's getting rid of, because it's hard for me to tear up kids' jeans, because I feel like there's people in need who might be able to use that. But this actually, here's the back, and this is the front of it. So you can see it's a little bit more put together. But this one I used this size. I'll talk about sizes that I cut things, because I'm going to show you today one of the things that I'm doing. So that's why I wanted to show you that one though. For this one, I did use this piece, and I'm going to show you what I do and how I cut my. What I do is I'm going to use a sheet, and here's this big old giant sheet. I found this King brand new sheet at the thrift store. It was actually in the area where they had some brand new linens and stuff, and what I did was I just picked it up. It was like $3, and it was a king size flat sheet. Perfect, because I like this color and I wanted to use it with something. All right, this is the fabric that I'm going to make my next rug. I love the colors. It's not everyone's color, but this is what I decided to match up this beige color. I call this color ecru beige, because it's kind of like that vintage look color, coffee color. And I think that's what I'm going to do with this fabric right here. I purchased brand new from a thrift store. It was not used, and along the edges it had a Hobby Lobby white that I just cut it off. And then I was going to start making it, and then I remembered what I want to do is I want to make sure that I wash them before, because that's what I learned by washing the rugs after I made them, is that I think I'd like the idea of washing the fabrics before to make sure that if they're going to shrink, they shrink a little bit, because a lot of the times you don't know what your fabric is made out of. Okay, so this one is like a decorator's type fabric, and I know I won't do my other types of crafts with it, so it'll make a beautiful rug, I think, a rag rug. And but we're gonna start by me showing you what I do with my my sheets. I want to show you how I tear my sheet, because I'm going to start the project soon. And okay, most of the sheets will have on one end they'll have a wide edge like this, and I usually just tear it off, but this time I chose not to tear it off. I'll explain to you why. And then on the opposite edge it has more of a thin side. Sometimes I leave this thin side on, and but I want to explain a couple of things for you. This one is a brand new sheet also, so there are going to be two brand new fabrics that I'm upcycling with. And this one, when I looked at it, it's a Mainstays King, and it's a little bit thicker. After I washed it, it feels a little softer. The same with that other fabric. It's more pliable. And I think they both have cotton in them. This one is 60% cotton and polyester. So every time you get a sheet, you can look to see what it's made out of to decide. But I would launder them before you start using them. That's my suggestion. Now, this one is unique. Normally, I would just tear my fabric, and I tear this all the way off, and I tear this all the way off. But this time I did, because I noticed that on this sheet, which is not all sheets don't have this. It has, I want you to look at this has a chain type threading on it. It's chain. This side you can see, you don't see a chain, but the other side there's a chain. So whenever you find it and it looks like there's a chain, I learned a special trick. It actually comes undone very easily. I learned this on my own, and then later on I was watching something and I saw a couple of people explain to you. Well, so what I did is I'm gonna go, I already did the other edge, the white edge. I unsewed it, and then I'm gonna do it to this also. So what I first did is I used one of these, and I kind of clipped it first all the way down, and then you have to go and you grab each side. You grab this side and grab this side, and then you pull it, and it just comes right off. This thread just comes right off. Okay, so I'm going to actually do that, and then if you want, you can iron it or something like that, but the tag just came off because it was sewn on. So on this side, I also see a chain going this way, and all I do is I pick it out like this until I get it started, and then I try to grab one end and I grab the other end. Oops. And then I just pull you just hold on to one. Sometimes you could just pull the one side, but most of the time you have to hold both sides. And it just comes right undone. So you can do that for the entire sheet. But another thing I will mention to you right now while it's folded, while you could see it this way, is that when you cut, I'm going to tear this fabric. I don't tear all the fabrics, but this one and the other one, I'm probably going to cut the other one because I tested tearing it and didn't work well. So I want you to know that when you're tearing fabric, sometimes the fabric tears better one way or the other. So I test it. So I just wanted to show it to you here before I go and separate this, so you'll know that you might want to cut it going this direction, tear it going this direction, or you might want to go tearing this way. The direction I'm probably going to do it is going to be the longest section, so the length of the king size sheet, and that's probably what I'm going to do. But I'm going to go ahead and take all this apart, and then I will be back. Okay, I took those all off, and I have the thread right here. All right, one of the other things you need to mention to you, when you're tearing fabric, you always need to do a first tear to straighten out your fabric. So I know that this part, if I cut this, tear this way, it's the long side, and if I put that way, it's the short side. So if you're starting with a new fabric or anything, then you might want to test yours. I'm even going to leave this edge on and probably use that to measure how I cut it. But whenever fabric is cut for you at the store, they cut it with scissors, and they're not always exactly straight to the fibers of how this fabric is made. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut a thin strip just to straighten out my fabric. And if this doesn't work, all you do is give it a little snip, and then you tear all the way down. All right, I cut this all the way down. I started with this much, and then when I ended, it got thinner at the end, so I lucked out. It wasn't too bad. This is not a lot of waste. I'll take this and I'll still save it because I still might use it if 100% necessary. But it's a lot less waste than if I wouldn't have unsewn it. Yeah. I'll show you how much less waste. And I also use these I'll roll my fabrics and tie them with that. Or I could also use that in one of my crafts. So now we removed it, and I have this left. Now this side, if you're going to cut this way, that cut really very easily. There's not a whole lot of fray, so I'm going to use that. Now I'm going to talk to you about size. What size I cut things. Now, my first start when I start cutting is I've heard a lot of rug makers recommend 2 inches. And the reason why 2 inches is, let's show you something. So remember this one that I made? Well, when I used this one, made this blue one, I used a little bit less than 2 inches, probably 1.5 inches, and then it shrank, so it really made it really thinner. So if you could see, there's a lot of holes in here after I used that needle. But this is one of the first ones, so there's a lot more open, and the openness doesn't matter. A rug is fine that way. But I'm just giving you some tips from my experience. I have already tried cutting this fabric and cutting this fabric, and I've decided that this one is going to be about 1.5 inches, and then this one I'm going to make it 2 inches. Because this one is a little bit thicker than this one, you can use a little less fabric. That makes sense. Okay, so all I do is I'll take, and most of the time, a lot of the times with the thicker fabrics, I'm just using the width of this ruler. This is a Dollar Tree ruler, and then I just snip it. But this time I'm going to do it closer to maybe this. Maybe I'll go just a little less than 2 inches. I think that's what I had decided. I mean, just like 1/8 of an inch shy, because I thought that was enough when I was doing it. What you'll have to do is that every fabric you get, I experiment with it. Now, if you know it's sheets, just go 2 inches. And then you just tear. And what you're going to do is you're going to tear this strip, but don't tear it all the way to the bottom, because I'm going to come back when I get to the bottom so I can show you what I do. Okay, well, I don't know what I did, but I accidentally didn't record my other message. Well, what I ended up doing is I cut it all the way to the edge, and then I'm leaving a little bit at the edge. Don't cut this off. I think I went a little too thin, so I go a little less. You want to maybe do it about half the width of your fabric, or I don't know, about 1/2 inch to 1/4 of an inch. Let me see. Let me measure. Yeah, I would make it about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, but you can adjust that as your preferences are. And then this is going to be continuous I'm going to fold this one that I already cut down. I'm going to use it to measure my next strip. So this can be continuous. Now, what I'm going to want you guys to do, and then you just continue tearing it, leaving it together, because this is going to get sewn, going to get crocheted right into your project. One of the things I do is I take it, I fold it in half like this, and I do round off the edges. You can decide when you want to round them off. You can round them off all at the same time, when you're wrapping it, as you go, any way you want to do it. But now I'm going to go back down all the way to the other end. All right, I went down again. Stop before you hit the edge, and you can pause there. From an inch to 1/2 inch. This how much you do this is up to you, but realize that if you do too much, then it might tear. But this is how it becomes continuous, as you go that way, okay? And then so you need to do that for as much as you want. I do it a lot of times as I'm crocheting. What I'll do is I'll just start a ball and start wrapping it. You know, like I said, if it's a fabric you have that you want it to be in half. Oh, I did forget to mention is that most of these fray. I forgot to mention that. So I usually cut several, and then I go through and I remove some of the, if there's a lot of thread. Usually some fray more than others, but you do need to remove some of this. I don't think you need to remove every bit, but you just don't want a whole bunch of these threads hanging around when you're doing it. So this rag making is actually making your own yarn out of fabric, or you can use like t-shirts. There's a lot of people who make t-shirt rugs. So I hope this will help you, and you will be able to get some tips and tricks that I'm showing you on how I begin. And I will be back next time, and after I cut this one up, and I will show you how I cut the orange one next. Okay, and then we're going to start rug making after that.